There you go. Now I got 40 minutes, and then I gotta go.
Okay, all right. Let's keep it short and sweet.
Okay.
So what I was saying is
So we got a hallucination that came out. It spoke gibberish to us. The only thing that I can think of to check that is to always make a second call to a known stable model.
well, the non-stable model is not guaranteed to produce the right thing. I mean, you could do it 3 times and have some kind of
right. But as far as I know, it starts to the chance of you getting these hallucinations increase with the length of the input that you put in, particularly if you put in input that isn't that is like structured data. Like it kind of loses its mind if you put in data like that.
I would say that, but look, so this is just meeting bots, right? So that's a system prompt. The actual payload is pretty small.
Yeah.
And then it threw out whatever this is, and then a few seconds later, just went to a new tab.
Oh wait! Go down the very bottom. Go down the very bottom.
Well, the first one?
No, right. Scroll right to the bottom.
Oh,
See down the bottom. Maximum tokens limit reached. Response terminated.
Yeah.
Well, what is that?
Well, that's interesting enough. I forgot. I usually just max.
Oh, dude. Oh, you didn't let it speak.
Max though.
You.
Oh, maybe that's it.
You.
Okay. So we got like min tokens.
You.
But why is it giving us? What was it?
Well, I don't know, but
like Portuguese,
it ain't
Russian,
right.
Korean, Hindi.
You cause it. I'll tell you another place I've seen it flip out is when you put the temperature up at like 2.
Yeah.
And it goes wild. You're like, whoa.
Dude. But you're given permission by putting the temperature up.
Yeah.
Just go wild,
man. Well, I'd say that's your reason.
But that's a sort of error that could occur, right?
I guess I'm afraid of those kinds of errors because it's like, well, what do I do if I get a bit flip in my RAM? Now, I could write my variables out twice every time and check them against the other, right? Or I could just pray.
You do it 3 times because twice you don't know which is the right one.
Well, you know that if you did it twice, you've got a discrepancy and you need to run the whole thing again, right?
Which is the 3rd time, yeah. But you've also got the 4th of seeing what the discrepancy is.
So it's that level of problem that I just pray we don't see it, because otherwise, putting a check in for it. You and I have only seen that once in
it's the first time.
Millions of tokens. Like we literally would be in the thousands of millions of tokens that we've hit this thing with.
I've never seen it before.
Yeah,
and maybe it's something to do
with
the token level. Maybe
it definitely is something to do with that. Like you put the tokens down so low that, that's.
I think the way to deal with this is the response. This response, okay. You can give it. Say we've got a test bot or the oversight one, who's just looking at the output and saying, "I understand your intent is to analyze this meeting transcript."
Yeah, we could.
What the hell is
right? That? Yeah. Okay. So So the background checker that is looking for stucks and is looking to report inferior responses all the time. Yeah, that background checker could also have this and be like, this is so inferior that I'm going to stop you right there. Like,
it's right? Not even close. Right?
So we'll give it a what's that called? I think it's kind of like a crowbar, where it's like typically it's passive and it just listens and listens, but it can hit a circuit breaker. Sometimes
it's a bit like a circuit breaker, isn't it?
If it's really bad, it's like
it's so far off.
Yeah, and it's gonna.
The tester can just be looking, saying, "Are you still talking about a meeting? I don't care what the meeting is."
And it can thump it, reset it, and then just store that for our records, and then regenerate from scratch. And hopefully, it doesn't come back. And if it gets bad 3 times, then it jumps in and says, "Terribly sorry, experiencing some difficulties."
Yeah. Please try again. Do it there, and all that kind of stuff.
So I also put in some retries for, that error that we were getting during our work session where the server was bugging out. Yeah, I put in retries there, so that shouldn't stop you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the things I wanted to cover were the things that I sent you on
Yeah.
WhatsApp.
Do you want the screen?
Sure. So, I did some quite fun things with the assessor. The audio library. How bad you want that? Like,
Well, I can give you an update on where it got. So the bottom line is we can get an 80% just on an undifferentiated or diarized. What's the word? I think
diarized,
diarized.
undiarized.
So an undiarized conversation, so long as steps 1, 2, 3, which can take you through.
Yeah.
And I'm getting about, as far as I can see, about 80-85% hit rate, which is not bad.
Okay.
And the stuff it's not hitting on is generally where I interrupt you, because it seems like you just had a brain fart and just changed mid-sentence into something else. I think I can probably probably fine-tune out. But the bottom line is, it's not necessary, but it's a really useful tool, right?
Okay.
Because if we have to get to the point of having that what we were talking about, where it's inside the meeting,
Yeah.
listening live to the audio stream.
That's kind of my my
So,
perfect scenario now is like this chuck down this little puck that looks like Alexa or something, and then it
yeah,
starts picking up the audio streams, and then on the browser there's all this helpful side comment being given
it's like a
as
live fact checker, isn't it?
yeah, and like integrating with the knowledge base, and then it would sort of pick up discrepancies that need a vote, so that it'd be like, hey, you guys need to decide on this thing, because it's contentious and it's atomic and it needs to be set one way or another in the knowledge base, and then we'd like push a button and be like, yep, that's agreed.
Yeah. I think there's answer your question, yes, but it's not on the main line of stuff I need.
Right.
But I think it's going to be really useful.
Okay, cool. Well, I found some sweet libraries for doing it. My vision of how we would ultimately upload all of our recorded data is that it would be stored in a folder, not the YouTube link, but the actual binary data. We would host that, and then the YouTube link is really just because we didn't have Artifact at that time. And then we're like, here's the original material, here's the derivations like transcripts, here's the audio stream, here's this and that. And then you'd basically be able to use that. So a great way for you to test this system is that we could actually replay one of the videos and see what the meeting bot does live on a previous. Oh, that's what you have been doing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I had 3 screens up. Since we're on the topic, I know we only got about 36 minutes left. Do you want me to show you?
Would it be okay if I need some things to sort of unstick me? So if we can get those through, and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
Here.
The TLDR is looking pretty good.
Yeah, it does. And I guess the thing is, it's always gonna, right? Like the bots always behave reasonably.
Yeah. There's one thing that really fails on, but that's fair enough, because we often talk as we are now, looking at a screen.
Yeah.
And, transcript doesn't have the screen, so the bot's going.
Right. So
blue, black, red.
There's a way to do that.
So it's like we need to give time-stamped screenshots or something. I don't know. Or ideally the whole video.
No, it's this way. So you can take the video and take screenshots of it, and then you can run it through Vision. Turns out Vision can take a sequence of images as well, and then this is an example of a video they had where they ran it through this system, and then told GPT 4.0 to generate a description of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then also generate a voiceover script.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So basically, it can, it runs really well.
In the frozen expanses of the North American wilderness, a battle on
Yeah,
testament
cool.
to the
I mean,
Right.
the generated transcript, voiceover is easy. Easy. It's,
No, but it's done from the vision of the frames.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, okay. Let's move on to your stuff, but that's the one bit it gets confused with now.
Right.
What I think what we need to do is to ingest maybe through that flow that you just described.
Yeah. Okay.
The video as well, and whenever there's a topic
Right.
that seems like we're talking to the screen, and then it takes a screen.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, right. That sounds good. Okay, so I think there's an important principle that we don't use enough. That we should always try to ask the bot questions about things that map to some metaphor or some concept that it knows about.
Yeah, well, that's the basis of using Mermaid ERDs. Because remember, I got that huge
Correct,
performance boost.
correct. But I hadn't been doing it when I was asking the test assessor to run, and so I did that now. And what I've done is I now pull in the exact API call that goes off to OpenAI, which includes the expanded out tools. It includes the expanded links, of course. It's everything, the previous messages, the whole lot. And the theory is that because it knows about that format, it will know about how to sort of comment on it.
Yeah.
But what I got back, interestingly, was I got back reasoning and outcome. These are things that we've covered before, but the new step-by-step piece I added is analysis.
Mm-hmm.
The system prompt is overly complex and details numerous constraints, blah, blah,
Well,
blah.
that's talking about some prompt. Oh, that's
Yeah. And then improvements that it could suggest. So that was one example, but yeah,
that's quite interesting. We could ingest that back into the
Yeah.
improvement loop.
yeah. Exactly. There was another really good one that popped up. This one, like, the prompt has multiple layers of instructions that could cause confusion. So here, the improvements: remove any instructions in the prompt that allow or encourage asking for clarifications. I think the prompt asks it to ask for clarifying questions, but the expectation that I gave it in the test was that it was very short and it didn't ask any questions or suggestions at the end. So, you know what I mean?
Oh, you did a
conflict
That's what
almost.
went wrong with HOW 9000, wasn't it? If you give two instructions that you can't possibly meet both times.
Yeah. So
into Wonderland.
I simply put this together to get the very basics of the mechanism going. So I obviously am not that. My prompting sucks, and I spent no time on it. But the tooling is there now for you to be able to plug in a better prompt that can generate more useful stuff. But that's kind of what I wanted to show you. That's going really good, that bit.
How close are we, even if it's constant iterations and changing and all that stuff, how close before I can use your setup as you've got now?
That's what I'm trying to get to. That's the next thing for me to do. I have been distracted by little tiny cleanups, like adding that retry loop. I've added, just before I forgot about it, I added a line that adds the current time to every sysprompt, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about. How far away? Probably, like I wanted it today. Maybe it's tomorrow. Like it's kind of like I'm just
All right. So,
massaging it back into the system, right? Like this is the
yeah.
thing that we want.
Well, if it will help, I'd much rather get a gash thing that doesn't really kind of almost sort of works
Yep,
than wait longer because
absolutely. I have cut off and ignored other tempting tasks that are really neat
yeah,
in order to try and get you a published version of this thing so that you can use it.
exactly, because I need to get up to speed about okay, we're switching over this way of doing it, and
Yeah.
I also have the fallback of the way I've been doing it for the last year
Yeah,
or so.
yeah, and I'm eager to get you working on this platform because I want both of us to be working on the platform as opposed to me in an IDE and you in a
Right.
playground API thing. You know, like we
Yeah.
need to be working in the same spot.
Yeah.
Um,
And yeah, if it simply doesn't work, on the first part, that's fine because
yeah,
I'm going to do it at some point.
yeah. So it's getting to the point where the testing framework appears sufficient to be able to test components of the testing framework because the testing framework's made up of the assessor, the file runner, the requester, the generator, the generator that makes the variations, and so those are all,
Sorry, file runner. Do you mean test runner? Did you speak, or I'm not heard of file runner?
the file runner is what I called the thing that runs the test file.
All right, okay, right.
And
I'll
and
put that down as test runner, but yeah, okay, fine. Yeah.
yeah, we can tidy up the naming and all that. So in terms of the agents, that agent is, might as well like clarify that while I'm here. I've prefixed all the agents with test. That is called the test file runner.
Oh, I see why you're saying that.
I'm happy
Okay,
to.
so it's test.
Yeah, because otherwise
set,
everything
okay.
it ended up being like the test runner, and then and I was like, oh, that
Okay, no,
sucks.
that makes sense.
Um,
No need to change that.
okay,
I'll
all right,
do that, that's fine.
okay. And so I can actually run, or I think I can run tests on those individual agents to strengthen the quality of the test framework overall. So that's sort of, pretty.
Okay.
That's pretty fun. Um,
Okay.
Yep.
I'm sitting with bated breath and
yeah,
I'm
sorry,
just
dude. It's just been like quite a massive pain actually. And I think I realized why it's so hard. It's because
mm,
we're basically multi-threading Node.js, and that's why I find it hard because I moved to JavaScript away from the more traditional multi-threaded languages because it was doing my head in to deal with concurrency.
mhm.
And Node.js has what I think is a beautiful concurrency model, which is no concurrency. But instead it has promises and awaits and all these
Yeah.
other things. So in your mind, you know that there's only ever one active thread. It's just that when that thread hits a pause, it goes back to the next place it hit a pause and then carries on there. But it's only ever running in one spot, in one file at one time. And so I find that worlds easier to think about. However, now we're trying to do like multiple test files. Each file has multiple cases. Each case has multiple iterations. Each iteration has multiple assessments. So it's like very multi-threaded. It's very multi-threaded.
Yeah.
And
That's your
that
partnership, man. Although, interesting enough, there's also multi-threaded thought processes inside of the botland as well. So
yeah. So yeah, but look, I'm embarrassed that it's how long it's taken, but it is working good, and I'm trying to give you the most basic, the simplest version I can manage. I just hit a few snags with Artifact and features in Artifact that I needed to polish or extend a little bit to make it work.
Yeah, no, that's all
Yeah.
totally cool, as you know.
So that's where that's
we don't have much time
gone.
to talk about your timestamp thing. So
Yep. So I add this line in now after everything, but what I was thinking you might want to do is we could make that be, you know how I'm about to redo the bot, the way that you handle parameters?
yeah.
I could also add this config thing in that was like timestamp, and then either true or like a format
Yep. Yep.
or
True
something.
or a format, or false in a format.
What would false in a format be?
Well, false would be no timestamp, or I guess not having it in your config would default.
Yeah, just blank. Just blank would be no timestamp, because it seemed like not every bot needs to have that, but it allows it to do a lot of things like howl. You know, questions that involve time are very much important.
Yeah, the it does keep on coming up, and usually I usually tick off the time by saying things like your response 3 responses ago.
Right. So yeah. So what I was gonna add in there is like what their OS is, their browser, their IP address. Basically, I can add a lot of context in there. So I could do it something like additional prompt, and then be like time. I could say I'll put the time in there. I'll put the user's OS. I'll put their browser. Maybe their name. I can put a lot of stuff in as this additional prompt.
It would be useful because that's all further context, which
Yeah.
will help the bot out when you talk about
Right.
something that's happened in the past.
Right.
It will also be quite useful in the mode of calling experts into one office.
Yeah.
Would be which bot are you talking about? It's like
Sorry, which bot are you talking about?
the accountant bot last week said this.
So already what I do is in the OpenAI documentation, they have a place where you can put the name of the agent, and I do actively do that, where I put the full path to the agent file in each message, so that you should be, I haven't tested it, but you should be able to, like, see how it's got assistant here. The assistant message contains the content, the role, but it has an optional name. I've been putting the name in as what the file name of the agent was, so I haven't tested it, but you should be able to ask it, what did the test assessor bot say, or what did the something bot say, and it should be able to figure it out from there.
Yeah.
Is that close enough to what you mean?
That's exactly it. So
Okay.
if you hit a prompt that kicks off a whole bunch of other things happening, and they're coming back as promises, and say, who said that? And it's like, test prompt said, or test runner said that, 5 minutes ago. It's like, all right. Let me talk about that.
Okay. Well, why don't we we'll see if it works as is here, and then if it doesn't, then we'll write up some tests, and then I'll figure out a way to solve that problem for you.
Yeah. Cool.
But I think now that very soon we'll be able to actually generate tests. That's sort of a well-formed job where we can be like, here's a test, here's why, here's what it doesn't do. Someone somehow fix it, either artifact, features, or prompt.
This is probably getting too into the weeds for now, but where's it getting that time from?
I take it from the computer that it's running on, and so I left it as Zulu because it'll be running in West Virginia. So the
Okay.
time will be the server time, not the
So
browser time.
how does that? Again, this is not for now, but if we're sticking off a whole bunch of parallel bot calls,
Yeah.
um, there's no universal time there,
Yeah,
and
they're all
so
gonna
you
get.
can say, tell me what the bot said before that. Another bot. So you've got two bots, interacting away, and it's like relative time. But relative time requires some kind of absolute time in order to reference. So, but not for now. But
Okay. Okay, well, either way, if we can figure out some tests to illustrate it, then I can work on getting those things included there. Time is a pet thing of mine, so I would love to
yeah.
solve that. Okay, the thing I'm about to commit to is I've been working on the UI, and I got, you know how Backchat used to flick up as like that red screen?
Yep.
And yet the conversation before, we were talking about having these different threads and stuff, right?
Yep.
What if I made the base thread, which is still called the Backchat thread for now? I think you need to come up with a better name for that, but the Backchat thread. What if these child threads were the things that popped up in the red window? How would that make you feel?
In the red window.
So what used to be Backchat is now going to be a child thread. It used to be that the child thread was primary, and then Backchat was this red thing that popped up over the top. And I want to change it to be Backchat as primary, and also where you spend most of your time. And when you're in one of these remote threads, instead of just jarringly clearing the screen and putting the whole remote thread on screen, I would bring up the same sliding effect as Backchat for that particular thread. So I can show you what I mean.
Color, you're saying. So there's semantics inside the color.
No, I'll just leave it as just one color, really. Hang on, I'm gonna have to go soon.
Alrighty. All right. Yeah, you got about 10 minutes on you. That was quick.
That's my alarm. Sorry. What are you doing? Christ almighty. What are you doing? So it used to be that. Oh dear goodness. Okay. It used to be that Backchat popped up over the top. You dismiss Backchat and you get back to the thread you were in. And now I want to change that to say that Backchat is this main thread. So this is the base thread. There's no escaping out of this. This is as high as you can go. When you say something like, I want to talk to the CRM, it will fire up a window like this. It'll say, instead of Backchat, it'll say CRM, and then some information to let you know that it's a remote thread. And then this is that thread in here. And then when you're finished talking to it, you can either dismiss it or you say something in here that gets intercepted by M, and then that will close that window and you'll be back to Backchat.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
My hesitation is putting. So what you're saying is Backchat is red. Nothing is white. Your kind of base is white.
Yeah.
And anything else is what? Something else. Green.
Well, no. Backchat is now white.
Yeah.
And anything else is now red or something, some color.
All right. Okay. Oh yeah, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Because
there's no meaning in the color other than it indicates that you are not at home. You are out. You are somewhere else. And when you exit it, now you're home. and then
that would just start. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. There's nuances on that, but we
yeah.
don't have much time.
Okay,
Most way
sweet.
around,
Right. So I just thought that was friendlier than just like dumping the page and then flicking up the remote thread here in white, and then you're like, what the fuck? Except I changed this address or something. You know, like it seemed less jarring to sort of slide it in over the top, like, hey, you're somewhere else.
yeah, the slidey thing is actually quite good because that's more of a visual cue than the big red bit at the top.
Yeah. And then,
But
yeah, okay.
yeah, you want some kind of yes.
All right, so
Basically, yes.
basically yes, and then we'll twiddle it to suit,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I've also abandoned the concept of like if you went to the bank thread and then you spoke to the coffee thread, it would sort of exit that and then pop up a new one that was the coffee thread, rather than giving you, like, you don't want to end up in a situation where you're 50 threads deep and you've got to click the cross to get out of 50 different threads. It's
Like
only
tabs.
ever, yeah, it's only ever one. You're either backchat at home or you're at this remote one, and that's it. And if you want to, if you want to navigate that stack, you need to do it via backchat, via,
Yeah, no, that's fine. But
that's
you
fine,
can
right?
say to backchat, okay, I'm done talking about coffee. Take me back to accountant.
Yeah, okie dokie.
Whatever.
Okie dokie. We'll see how that goes. I think that's enough to run with, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's enough to poke around at. Okay, and yeah, the file system, like I said, it's can be dynamically generated. I think that might satisfy some of your.
Did my answer to that make sense?
Yep, totally, yep,
Yeah, cool.
yeah. That's it
All right.
for me.
How many minutes have you got left? Must be single digit.
I have 3.
3. Okay. Very quickly, I'll just
Okay.
give you a heads up about where I'm going.
Cool.
My primary task is still on the dynamic web page or website.
Awesome.
So we've got all the stuff that we did in the last call.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, I managed to get the diarization to a reasonable level. The summarization and the asking questions on it, that's absolutely fine. And so it's a small step from there to compare between two or even a spread of transcripts, saying how these concepts change and so on. We've already proven, God, it must be about 2 weeks ago. Remember when we got the I'm talking as a pre-buyer, and here's 20 priorities, and then you can switch those priorities. And we're using Markdown. I'm not doing anything with Docusaurus for now.
Yep, just pure Markdown, man.
And it's like, here's a word limit for each. Just
Yep.
throw them in.
Yep.
And then
That's awesome.
them as required.
That's
The
awesome.
next
Good.
step, I think, it shouldn't be too hard to go from that to about, I think it was Traceability 17. I played around with a project bot.
Yeah.
I think that it might take a bit more time to get actually right.
Right.
But that's not wildly off.
Right.
So we have all the bits and pieces to screw together.
That sounds awesome, because having those features as a queue where the website widget only shows like the top 6, and that we are constantly voting on what the rank of them is, also allows us to have features in there that are for the future that are not present yet. And so we can use that as a roadmap to also prioritize what features we want to bring to the top by their status.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now we probably only got about 90 seconds left. So the concept I wanted to bring you is, I think because it's a public display, these conversations can be ambiguous if we just have automatically add in thoughts when you and I know that actually we're just playing with an idea, and then suddenly it turns up on the website. That's such a good thing, and so I think the website chunks should be quite sticky. I need some kind of reasoning. So it's like, we think you should update this bit with this. Do you agree? Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we can make the end result require just like a quorum of votes, where it's like, humans have to actively
about
approve
right.
it.
And the reasoning behind it, you guys talked about.
Yeah. Yeah,
Lamrock and
but
Josh,
it's also
whatever.
really good for alleviating the problem that often pops up with a website, is that people feel like things that they thought were important didn't get included at all. But by including them in a queue, you're like, well, it is there. It's just that we think that the priorities are different. And so, let's work to, maybe you're right. Maybe the priorities are different. But being lower down the queue is much, much better than being cut off, I think.
Well, also, what is, well, we've already demonstrated, if you have that canonical description, which is sticky,
Yeah.
and can be informed for updates, you guys have changed this now, that sort of thing, are you sure
Yeah.
you want to do that? But the sticky stuff can be much larger and generate the smaller lozenges, and so if you go in with a certain point of view, I want to hear about this, then you're getting displayed that, but from the canonical data, which is
Right.
being informed.
Yeah, the canonical data can be much bigger. Yeah.
The other thing, just amusingly, just very last thing, the diarization. I cracked. I was getting really shit results, but it turns out if it's two paths, so you put transcript through and say there's two speakers here, giving heuristics about what each speaker was talking about. So let me show you very quickly. Do not.
No, I gotta go, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm out of time.
All right, okay.
I gotta go.
It's an amusing thing. It's an amusing thing.
I know. Okay.
Takes you. Right.
Cool, man.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'll see you later.
See you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.